Hi,
Hello, everybody.
how
Excited
are you?
Utterance here, and
With
here's
Dolly Talk.
DaliTalk. It's a really special day. It's
Yes,
a different format today.
trying
Brand
something
new
new.
episode, new series, first episode of it. A little bit. Oh, hey, Christine. A little bit nervous today. We've got something new that we're covering. We'll just wait for people to filter on in a little bit. How are you, Christine? I see that you've been doing some different stuff. And thank you, Jean, for getting along and putting the links in the chat. Now, today we have two streams going. We have both Dali and myself because this is a dual initiative, dueling,
Yes.
dual initiative. You got your number up.
Oh, yeah, she got some subs, I believe.
Okay, that's wonderful. You've been hoping for that. Great job.
Absolutely.
Great job. Um, yes, so what we're doing today is something quite new. Dali, do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Why don't you go ahead and talk? I'm trying to grift our stream real quick.
In other words, no. Um,
No, I'm not.
okay, so what we have here is something we've been talking about this for a little while. What we want to do is every now and again, I say to Dali, who's that you're talking
Yes.
about? Or what is that whole thing that just happened in the US? I know nothing about it. Hello, Paige. How's it going? Welcome. Sal, Paige said
Yes.
hello to
Oh,
you.
hi. Hi, Paige. I'm literally trying to get her link out. I'm sorry.
I know. And Dali goes, you don't know about that person or you don't know about that event. And I'm like, nah. And then people in chat go, really? You don't know about that? Or vice versa. I will say something and Dali will have no idea. So we came up with this idea to have Australia versus USA. Hello, Fast Group.
Hey,
Nice to
Fast
have
Group.
you here. Australia versus USA. I show you mine if you
You show
show
me
me.
yours.
Yay, you show me yours. Right. And so I try and tell Dali something crazy that's happened in my country. And he goes, well, you think that's crazy.
Yeah.
How about this? Yeah. And or the other way around. It can go the other way around. He can go,
Yeah.
oh, look at this crazy thing that's happened. And I'll be like,
Yeah.
okay, but what about this?
Yeah.
Right. So it's just a bit of fun. It can be a bit controversial, can be a bit serious, but then a bit fun too. So we'll try and
Yeah.
always end on a fun note. And today actually is a bit controversial, and actually um, put me in put me in coach. I'll show you mine. Today actually is going to be something that I'm a bit nervous to cover, but people keep asking me about it, especially since what happened on the weekend, which is a crazy thing that happened in my
Yeah.
country. And that is that. Hello, I'm bronzed. Yes, Australia versus not New Zealand. I always Australia versus New Zealand is a normal thing to say. Right on bronze? Yeah, no, Australia versus USA. And I have an Aussie here. Yes, I have an Aussie here. Um, so on the weekend, Australia voted no to a referendum. A referendum. Do you guys even have referendums in the USA?
Yeah. Some places do. It kind of depends. Like you can, I guess if you like want to recall a governor, that's a referendum.
Okay, so a referendum is okay. A
It might
referendum
just be called
is
something else.
a yes or no vote to a proposition, and
Oh,
it's a big proposition. So
mm,
they happen rarely.
yeah.
You guys have like yes or no votes to like bills, don't you?
That's that's mostly the politicians, and then we vote on which ones we want, or like there's
That's
local
electing
elections.
people.
Yeah, and there's local elections, and we vote yes or no on like
Yeah.
certain propositions.
Okay. Right. All right. So we have these referendums, and they're usually about really big questions that we want to ask once, and we don't usually ask them again for decades. All right.
Mm,
So, for example, we had a referendum bronze, correct me, I think it was around 2000 or so, maybe a little earlier, about whether or not we were to become a republic. So yes, so whether we were going to throw away the crown and say goodbye to Queen Lizzie and the crown, and yes, and become a
so
republic,
so you'd be like a sovereign country.
Yes, right. So,
but you weren't before.
No, we've never been. We've always been part of the British, the crown. So yeah,
but you're prisoners. Why do you have loyalty to them? They just kicked you out.
We love the Queen. Well, the Queen's gone now, but we many of us still love the Queen.
I like her. I don't like her husband.
Well,
or
she's
son
dead
or
now,
whoever.
so
Yeah, I know. I always liked her though.
Yes, that sounds about right. The Republic, yeah. So we were going to. We asked. We asked. No, it didn't. No, we are still. We're still part of the Commonwealth. So. Yeah, so we had a referendum on that back around the late 90s, I think, and we said no. We didn't think Australia, the majority of Australia decided that, no, we're not quite ready to become a republic. And a lot of people were very upset about that, but that's how it is. And so we're still part of the Commonwealth Games, which is kind of like the Olympic Games, but just for the people who are part of the Commonwealth. And we tend to win that a lot. I think that's part of the reason why we stay part of the Commonwealth, because we like to win it. Anyway, so yes, we have these referendums every now and again, and we had one for gay marriage, for example, and that one came out as a yes. That was only a few years ago. Now,
did you need to amend the Constitution for that? Couldn't they just pass a bill saying gay marriage?
No, that was no, and that I believe that was just a bill, but we still felt that the government at the time still felt the need to ask the entire nation, and sometimes it's because the government at the time doesn't really want to be the government that was the one to speak on behalf of the entire country.
They don't want to take the responsibility.
Kind of, yeah.
So they passed
So are we bound by a British Parliament or a local governing body? No, we're bound by our local governing body. In fact, the Crown is just kind of a figurehead. So we have a Governor General who reports to the Crown, but no, we self-govern. So there's only been once, I believe, in our history in the 70s when the Crown was involved in sort of giving our Prime Minister a talking to, and that's a whole different story. But no, generally, no, we're self-governing, and that's how the system works in the Commonwealth countries. Anyway, onwards and upwards. Here in Australia, we have obviously our native people, the Aboriginals. And we have, as most countries that were colonised, have reparations and issues that have occurred over the years. And I'm not going to go into, yes, I'm bronze. The crown is a figurehead, absolutely. We loved her though.
Yeah, no, she was good. I liked her.
Everyone did.
I know, she's so sweet.
I know, she was like grandma. I was like having a grandma.
Like the rest of the royal family, I think, are putzes, but she was a good one.
I'm still sad. Yeah. All right. So I'm not going to talk about it too much myself. I'm just going to play some videos and show you kind of what happened in lead up. And then I'm going to show you a little bit of what we were asked to vote on. And it's really interesting. The reason I'm going to talk about it today is because it's kind of crazy that it didn't go ahead, because we had the government of the time. Today we have a Labor government, so a left-leaning government, and we had big businesses, corporates, celebrities, etc., all telling us that yes, you should vote yes to a change in the Constitution to recognise what's called our First Peoples, so our Indigenous people in the Constitution of our country. You should vote yes, is what they said. And Australia resoundingly voted no this weekend to that change. And the question is, are we now considered racist amongst the world stage because we did that? Or is there more to this story?
Join the club.
Or is there more to this story? Because I'll tell you that there is more to this story. Almost, I would say, just about every Australian wants the best for everybody here, and especially for our Indigenous people and their well-being. So there is definitely more to this story, but I'll start by showing you some stuff, Dali.
Yeah.
And everybody here. Okay, let's go. Sharing stage. Go. Oh, I think I'll put us over there. Okay, always there's a warning. Put them, what'd you say? Put them on reservation too.
Do you get that reference?
Well,
we have Native Americans or Indians here that have their own land.
Okay.
And like a lot of places in most of the US, you can't start a casino.
Oh,
so like in Arizona, you can't do a casino. However, on the Native Americans' land, they can do it. So the people in Arizona go to the Native American casinos.
Okay.
And they kind of get away with a loophole.
A loophole, like a Jody hole.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things they have to follow with like US law. I mean, we'd probably be upset if they were like making drugs or meth or whatever, but we try to give them as much autonomy as possible.
Very good. Okay, so press play on this. Tell me can you hear this? Oh, it's not started yet, but tell me if you hear it.
That was my cat, sorry.
It's fine.
Junior's needy.
Can you hear that okay?
Yeah, I think.
Good.
I'll let you know.
15 years ago, Australia endorsed an important agreement, the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. That declaration asserted the rights of Indigenous peoples around the world to maintain and strengthen their own institutions, cultures, and traditions. It asserted their right to self-determination, their right to decision-making on issues relevant to them. By endorsing that declaration 15 years ago, Australia sent a message to the world's Indigenous peoples that it cared. It cared about their rights and about their futures. The proposed Indigenous voice to Parliament aligns perfectly with the principles and aspirations of that declaration.
So this is
What is it then about this proposal that has close to half of the country's voters and a majority of Victorians
in favour of yes,
ready to turn away from the principles of this agreement that our country committed to on the global stage?
this way up.
Only 56 years ago, First Peoples were recognised as part of the Australian population, with an overwhelming yes vote at the 1967 referendum. At that ballot, more than 90% of about 6 million votes were ticked by Australians who wanted to say they cared about the lives of Indigenous people.
Okay, so what he's talking about is a referendum, yes, 1967, and of course, Australians overwhelmingly voted for Aboriginals to be allowed to vote. That wasn't any sort of, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right?
Well, it was around the time we made it so blacks and whites and everyone was treated equal. You couldn't like discriminate.
This was just pure equal rights.
Yeah.
So 90%, of course. It was, it's not really, this is not apples and apples comparing this referendum with the referendum that we just had.
Yeah.
So
they didn't know what would happen next. They didn't have all the detail, but they said yes. Historically, and in modern Australia, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have endured dispossession, discrimination, marginalisation, and human rights violations. Australia has failed First Nations peoples on cultural heritage protection, land rights, health disparity, child removal. It has targeted them with its criminal justice and child protection systems. These are facts. These are accepted and acknowledged even by the powerful institutions that superintend the lives and communities of First Nations peoples in Australia. The Age's readers have heard this acknowledged over the past 2 years from our coverage of Victoria's Uric Justice Commission, the first Truth and Justice Commission in Australia. They are hard truths, uncomfortable truths. But truths.
Have I paused?
Yes.
Oh, no. You can hear me though for a second?
Yeah.
All right. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Oh, boy.
Oh, you'll live. You'll survive.
Okay.
Oh,
she's
hang on a
having.
minute. I don't know. I'm not. Just a minute.
Try reversing your camera.
Try reversing my camera. Just a sec.
At least it's a better picture than yesterday.
It is a better picture than yesterday.
Are you going to leave the studio? And I guess it answers my question. Yeah, we were backstage yesterday planning for the week ahead, and she froze at one point. It looked like she was in a very awkward position. So I finally just told her, I'm sorry, no, you got to leave the studio and come back in. I cannot look at that frozen face. So how's everyone today? Yeah? Aussie, how you doing? That was great. I agree. We did. We're going to invade.
Oh, Brandon.
Oh, how is everyone doing?
Oh, you know what? Also, another thing that Australia failed at a few years ago was this thing called the NBN. And the government at the time, it's actually a different government at the time, we put this thing in, was made of copper wires instead of fiber optics. And it was a huge balls up, basically.
Yeah.
And everyone complained about it and said, why can't we just put in the fiber optics? And it's like, well, no, we'll go to cheaper options.
For internet?
Yeah. So basically here we are, and we've got all this infrastructure in place, and we could have put fiber optics in, but no, we used the copper wires, which were there already. So it's like, yeah, okay, so we cheaped out.
That's not the thing to cheap out on.
No,
that's
it's really not. It's a pretty big issue. It's a pretty big issue.
All the technology kind of, or most of it comes here, like electricity and the internet. And then we install everything and build the infrastructure. By the time that's finished, better ways have come out. And we can't really tear the existing infrastructure down.
No, exactly.
Hence the reason. Yeah, anyways.
No, you're right. So I'm only going to play a little bit more of this particular one because it's a little bit propaganda. So just go on.
And how it likely will work. Ahead of Saturday's referendum ballot, The Age restates that position and urges Victorians and Australians to vote yes in tomorrow's referendum.
Wow.
In 1967, The Age led the way in its campaigning for a yes vote in the referendum to count Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as part of Australia's population and to enable the Commonwealth to make laws for them. Voting yes to these proposals is a simple matter of humanity.
Right. So it wasn't just giving them the vote, it was counting them.
Census.
Yeah, in the census. Important. Yeah, see, a no-brainer, right? So
just count 3/5 of them. 3/5 is one person.
Yeah.
That was the compromise we had in the 1800s.
Hey, tragic. Commonwealth Electoral Act 1962 gave all Aboriginal people the option of enrolling to vote in the federal election. Yeah, exactly. So nice to see you here, tragic.
Very good. Yes, it is.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so moving on.
I grew up in a country that is my...
Sorry, let's go back. Just to give you a bit of an insight into what I'm about to show. So 2 ads. One for like a 30-second ad for the yes campaign. And then I'm going to show you the ad for the no campaign. Very quickly.
Will I grow up in a country that hears my voice? Will I live as long as other Australians? Will I get to go to a good school? Will I be able to learn my people's language? Will I be seen beyond the sports field, recognised by the decision makers of our country? Yes makes it possible.
Authorised by Dean Park and Australians for Indigenous Constitutional Recognition Limited in Sydney.
We all want to help
Cute.
Indigenous Australians in disadvantaged
Okay.
communities, but this voice is not the answer.
All right, let me just stop that there. Okay, so this is the campaign for no. And this is Senator Najimbi Price, her name is. And she's actually a shadow minister as well. Australians in bikini, sign me up. Yep, cool, Brandon. You're quite predictable, Brandon. I know what you're going to say.
Yes.
Often. Actually, no, the bikini's in you. Bikinis in you. Anyway, this lady here, people are saying that she has prime ministerial she's prime ministerial material. Yeah, like especially after her performance in this campaign and the way she has put herself forth, her demeanor, her drive, etc. She really has become a force politically now. So she's a senator and she's a shadow minister, and she has been the front, the face for the no campaign. And really, it seems a little bit, what do you call it? Token, I suppose, or stereotypical, but you can't really have somebody on either side representing either yes or no if they're not of Aboriginal heritage, because no one's going to take that seriously, I suppose.
Yeah.
And she put the argument forth that this is just a token effort. It's not going to make any difference on the ground to Aboriginal people and their well-being. So I'll just start this back at the beginning.
The answer. Australians in disadvantaged communities, but this voice is not the answer. We don't know how it would work, and once it opens the door to activists, we don't know what comes next. What we do know is, once it's in the Constitution, it risks legal challenges, and it will permanently divide us. This voice is risky, divisive, and permanent. So if you don't know, vote no.
Authorised by A. Hurst, Liberal, Canberra.
Australians will vote in a referendum this Saturday to decide whether the country's constitution.
I want to show you where I found this, because you can see, like, obviously this is not in Australia. This is not Australian news. We have what is it? CNA. This is called. Canadian? And I found this thanks to this guy. I'll share this tab instead. No, hang on, check this tab instead. Oh, no, where am I? Check this guy out. Oops, here he is.
Our democracy, it's all an experiment to see if we can create the best country on this planet. As I said, my ancestors came from Prussia, Ireland, Wales, even Russia. I've got blood from all over Europe, and my ancestors came here for safety, for peace, for prosperity, for fairness, to work together and live together in this great fair country. Vote no. We should never give one voice more say than another. We're all here, and me and you are equal. We see eye to eye, and we have every opportunity to pursue and accomplish any dream that we desire. You simply have to go for it. It's all mindset. More politicians, more voice, that is not the solution. We need more honest, hard-working people who care about this country to create change.
There's a flame.
Have a great day. Vote no, and let's get ready to see the results tonight. See you.
Yeah, this dude here, his name's Harold Dunder Viking, and yeah, Harold is there he is with his dogs, and yeah, he's kind of popular on Twitter. Here's the reason why. Check him out on TikTok. Look, there he is, ladies. Check him out. Treaty's coming. And the day it all happened, where is it? He did another TikTok. There he is. Look at him about the referendum results. He got his shirt off, ladies. Check him out. Oh, yep. Tell that guy his ancestors were probably criminals. he wouldn't mind. He'd be fine with it. Yeah, check it out. My fiance would. He has the body. Yeah. So this guy put me onto. Where are we? This. And honestly, sometimes you really need to look outside of the country to find really non-biased and insightful reporting. And so that's why I was like, oops, no, I need to share that again. Oops, silly me. Back to that. Boomerang. There we go.
Should recognize First Nations people by giving them a so-called voice to Parliament. This would allow Aborigines to advise the government directly on laws and policies that affect them.
The vote threatens to split the nation with yes and no. Campaigners are deeply divided. In this first of two special reports, Roger Maynard travels to Walgett in the West New South Wales, where the issue is not as straightforward as it seems.
Walgett is very West New South Wales, so this is
Walgett
like
is a country town some 650 kilometres from Sydney. Around half the population are of Indigenous descent, but if you thought that many Aborigines here would support the voice in the referendum, you'd be wrong.
My honest opinion is it won't benefit the Aboriginal people, and if it doesn't benefit the Aboriginal people, it's going to set us back 20 years.
Gary Trindle has lived here for 43 of his 67 years. He's a hard-working and respected member of the community, but like so many...
Thank you, Outline. You know what's really interesting about that comment there? So you said that you've listened to several Aussie lawyers talk about it, but it seems so complicated. That's the problem, right? That is actually the problem, and I've talked to lawyers here about it too. And it is complicated, and people don't get it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it more in a second when I show you the pamphlet that was sent out to every household. And the argument for the no campaign points this out, that legally it is a minefield. So it's really interesting. People didn't understand it, and neither should they, because not even the lawyers understood it. Well, not so much that they didn't understand it, they couldn't even agree on how risky it was. Yes, from a legal standpoint, it's very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. First Nations people, he distrusts the big city movers and shakers who think they know best when it comes to Aboriginal needs.
And as far as I'm concerned, we've had Aboriginal people representing us for years, and they've achieved nothing. The only way that it's going to work, the only way it's going to achieve, is if it is local people that are representing the local people.
It's proposed that a committee of 24 Aborigines from around Australia will make up the advisory body's voice to Parliament. But who will appoint them, how much it'll all cost, and how much power they might wield further down the track is unclear.
Be courageous and strong and fight for the country.
And it's that lack of detail that has driven the success of the No campaign, whose supporters fear the referendum could end up dividing Australia by race. Not so, says the government, while also pointing out that the voice will merely make recommendations to Parliament and not have any power of its own. Even so, no supporters are not convinced.
I smell a rat, and when I smell a rat, I'm not voting. I will vote no.
She's so Australian.
I'm pretty certain the no vote will get up, but I don't think that's the end of the conversation. I really think there needs to be more done to help out the people in the remote areas that really need the help.
My people have come over 1,000 kilometres today to show you that we don't agree with this current agenda or referendum. That should be enough for you to make a decision.
Back in Walgett, they continue to worry about Aboriginal disadvantage, about education, child mortality, domestic violence, and life expectancy. It's no coincidence that most of the men Gary Trindle grew up with are now dead. Bad health, often caused by alcohol and poor diet, have only added to their woes. Like their fellow countrymen in Australia's more remote areas, they face a life of inequality. This young Wargate man is only 19 and knows what it's like. They're treated unfairly here. Is there a certain degree?
That's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's not just in one town. The Aboriginal people, we treated unfair everywhere. Everywhere we go, we looked at differently to other people. That's how I feel anyway.
For some, it's a challenging environment that offers little hope. And like many other people across Australia who also face rising living costs, they find the referendum far from their thoughts and difficult to get their head around. Do you know which way you'll be voting?
I don't know.
Why not? You haven't made up your mind?
No.
No. Do you think it might be a good thing for Aboriginal people?
Well, I don't know. That's another thing.
Whatever the result of this referendum, the harsh reality is that many Australians don't fully understand the so-called voice to Parliament, or perhaps don't care. The real concern is that life for many of Australia's First Nations people will remain much the same, regardless of the outcome. Roger Maynard, CNA, Wargate, in Far West New South Wales.
Yeah, so
very special surprise here.
Here's the thing.
Australians.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not going to keep going with that. Yeah, that's exactly right. And so that was just prior to the vote, obviously, and really, that was the biggest problem. People just didn't get it. Now I'm going to show you exactly what was sent out to all households. And so obviously I received one of these. I'm going to share this tab. And so we were given this pamphlet, this thing called a referendum booklet, and in it there was a guide to the yes or no campaign, or yes and no case. So the case of voting yes, the case of voting no. And so you're sort of taken through it, and the actual change. If I just zoom up. The actual change, if I zoom here, right. So here it says a life, why we need it. A life expectancy, there are big challenges for facing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. They have a life expectancy of 8 years shorter than non-Indigenous Australians, worse rates of disease and infant mortality, a suicide rate twice as high, and fewer opportunities for education and training. So clearly the current approach isn't working, and to close gaps, find solutions and plans for the future, we need to listen to advice from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So that is kind of what was put forward as why this is happening, what was put forward. But really, what we've got over here on the right is the case for no, and there's a reason why it's on the right, I guess, is the case for no. It's risky. So we all, and it's true, we all do want to help the Indigenous people in disadvantaged communities. However, the voice is not the answer and presents a real risk to our system of government. And this is the thing, I suppose, the old line, I guess, you were talking about a minute ago. It specifically covers all areas of executive government. The High Court would ultimately determine its power, not the Parliament. So it risks legal challenges, delays, and dysfunctional government. And here's the other problem. Australians should have details before the vote and not after.
Yeah.
We don't know how it will work, and we don't know who will be on it. We don't know, and it will permanently divide us as Australians. So it's legally risky, and this is, for me, this is the biggest thing. So Australia's constitution is our most important legal document. Every word can be open to interpretation. Australia hasn't changed its constitution since 1977, and this would be the biggest change to our democracy in Australia's history. Now, this bit here, legal experts don't agree and can't know for sure how the High Court will interpret such a constitutional change. So it comes down to High Court judges, right? So imagine if you have a very right or conservative High Court judge. They could look at the new wording to the Constitution and go, okay, well, as far as I'm concerned, that means nothing, and I'm just going to take it as a token gesture towards the Indigenous people, and I'm not going to take it into account in regard to this particular claim or situation. Or opposite, you could have a very, very progressive judge, and they could look at it and go, well, you know what, I'm going to impose an exchange of land rights, for example, completely based on this line in the Constitution. So, for example, an entire large portion of land could be handed over and not be able to be built on or mined or something like that. Now, I might be completely wrong, but it sounds to me like even the lawyers can't decide amongst themselves whether or not this is true, because the details haven't been put forth or even worked out. If we go a little bit further, now the other thing is that many legal experts have warned that this would cause considerable delays in decision making. So the voice will almost certainly become a lightning rod for protracted debate about a vast array of current issues. Nearly every matter of current concern on the national agenda will be seen as having an Indigenous component of some kind. That's Nicholas Hasluck, AMKC, that's King's Counsel, former WA Supreme Court judge. So the risk of legal appeals and delays means a risk of dysfunctional government. Yeah, so I mean, obviously that is the no argument, and it's not to be said that it's not that we don't want all the things that are over here on the left. So we do want to become reconciled with our past and moving to a better future. We do want all of these better health outcomes, better results in education. We want life expectancy to improve, infant mortality and health to not be something that is like hugely outweighed in the Indigenous community compared to in the non-Indigenous community. We want education and employment to improve. We want all of these things. We have already so many tiers of bureaucracy that are already in place to try and address these things. I think a lot of Australians also saw that those levels of bureaucracy were there, and it's like, well, is this adding another level of bureaucracy on top of that as well? So the actual wording, where is it? Here it is. Okay, so the actual wording to the change to the Constitution was this: there shall be a body to be called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice may make representations to Parliament and the executive government of the Commonwealth on matters relating to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and the Parliament shall, subject to the Constitution, have power to make laws with respect to matters relating to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice, including its composition, functions, powers, and procedures. So that is Section 129, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice, which was proposed to be in the Constitution and now no longer will be. Moving on. So that clearly didn't happen.
Definitely.
No. So let's see what happened next.
Very special surprise here this morning. We have on the desk with us Bridget McKenzie from the National. Senator Bridget McKenzie, great to have you here with Rita Panahi, with James Morrow and myself, Rowan Dean. Well, what a day. Well, let's kick off, Rita. What do you reckon? You called it from the beginning.
Well, we called it on this program when the polls were at 70% yes. We said, no, once the Australian people see this isn't just about a little bit of harmless symbolism, this is about changing the constitution.
Yeah, just on what Miss Rita there said, and by the way, this is the Australian version of Fox News. Just to put this in context, we're basically watching Fox News, but Aussie. All right, so just so you're aware. It even looks like Fox News, but like blue in the background. Okay. Yeah, so put it in context, what Rita just said there, her name's Rita, she said that it started off with the polls looking, and this is back earlier, like not on polling day, but like the, you know, the newspaper polls, said 70%, it was going to be 70% yes, it was going to be a cakewalk, right? So, back then, she predicted that it was going to turn around and be 70% no.
In a very impactful way, they said no, and the no is resounding. Every single state, no. Northern Territory, no. In fact, the only place that voted yes is the ACT.
Canberra. Well, let me ask you about that, Bridget. I mean, does this not tell us our federation is broken? We have the people who run every single bureaucracy living in Canberra. So they're the people who voted completely the opposite to the Australian people. Explain.
Well, I can't explain. It's why my political party, the Nationals, want to get public servants out of Canberra, out into the regions and our suburbs where the impact of their decision is really most often felt. So I thought it was a tremendous result on behalf of the Australian people yesterday.
And congratulations, let's say it here once and for all, the Nationals led the way. You guys went out there when the three of us on this desk, we were saying, where is the political party that's going to break through this logjam? You guys did it. Congratulations, Bridget. Really, really, James.
Well, and an awful lot of people say that it was that moment that Jacinta Price gave that press conference in the courtyard of Parliament House. I was there for that.
Price
and that was the moment, I think, when it really started to hit home that the referendum was going to start losing oxygen, losing altitude.
Prime Minister
I think it's fascinating now,
material.
the wash-up of this here. You know, last night we saw an absolutely petulant, thin-skinned Anthony Albanese, tone deaf, doing what he always does, which is blame other people for his own failings. But it's not...
Namely Scott.
Well, namely Scott. But I want to just go through a few things here. I mean, let's just think about, you know, all of the different...
So, that is basically Australia Fox News having a little bit of a gloat over the fact that they were right. Moving on. Okay, now
there will be
here's the thing. Clearly, what happens when you don't win?
Yeah. The end of the world.
Yeah. Now, I get it. Like, some people really had their hopes up. And I'm not going to say that there weren't a lot of Indigenous people who really were, they had their eggs in the basket with this one, right? So there were people on both sides who really thought that their way was going to be the right way for reparations. And to be honest with you, my mum always said that 99% of people are good, right? So 99% of people want the best for other people. They feel compassion. And I always go with that. And I think that in this case, it's true. Like 99% of people want the best for the outcome of the Aboriginal people. And I think that's the case for the people who voted yes and for the people who voted no. So the people who voted yes right now are like, this is terrible. But what bothers me a little bit is more the feeling of how do we look to others, right? So do we look like we're racist? Do we look like we're this? Do we look like we're that? That to me is like immaterial. Like it's like the real outcome, the real concern should be more what is the outcome for those people who aren't doing well in life. That should be the biggest concern. So anyway, let's look at this.
A period of grief, and I think the whole nation should be grieving.
Hello, Blue Head Bible. Eugene.
I want to speak directly to those Australians who voted no with hardness in your hearts. Please understand that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have never wanted.
I don't think that's fair.
From you. We have never, and will never mean you no harm.
We had a lot to make real change, and I guess I'm just bewildered because these gaps, this disadvantage, this disenfranchisement of a whole portion of our community, and government after government try to address these issues, and here we are with a very moderate and fair proposal and a practical way forward, and it's not been accepted.
This campaign has never been about just yes or no.
Well, it kind of was.
Opposed words. This has been about us. This has been about you. This has been about the Australian people. This has been about justice. And it doesn't matter what happens tonight. If it is a no answer, then we're not lying down. We're not taking no for an answer, and we will continue.
Okay, now, context. Right. Oops. This is our Prime Minister. His name's Anthony Albanese, but every Prime Minister has a nickname. He's Albo, right? Like, not elbow, Albo. Yeah, because they have to be more endearing to us, and everyone gets a shortened name. So he's Albo, and Albo was the guy behind the whole thing. So, and because he's a Labor Prime Minister, so he's left. And when I say left, not like extremely left, like both of our political main parties are pretty moderate, but they have to please the more extreme side that is like making up the majority of their seats. So his government has been behind this whole referendum for the last sort of 18 months, and so he's actually being sort of given a little bit of a push to stand down now, and he's not that happy at this point in
time. I want to recognise that for many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, this campaign has been a heavy weight. I don't know, is it?
Yeah, I think there is.
Will be very hard to bear. At the outset, I want to say that while tonight's result is not one that I had hoped for, I absolutely respect the decision of the Australian people.
Who are you, Tragic?
I've never seen you before.
That has delivered.
Well, if you like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Maybe the Australian keywords got him in here.
But first,
maybe.
Can I just take a minute to say, well done, Australia.
Okay. All right. So just Rita from our version of Fox News, she's kind of funny. I gotta say, I find her a little bit amusing. She is such like a right-wing shock jock kind of person.
I like that.
Yeah, she doesn't look like one, which is even funnier.
No.
But she's having a little gloat, and let's have a little bit of fun and watch her.
Resounding victory, a triumph of the common man and common sense over the powerful elite who think they can bully us into submission. And my word, haven't we already seen the glimpses of an almighty mass meltdown among the left? I'll have a few examples of that for you shortly. And yes, Magda does make an appearance. The referendum result was a proud moment for the Australian people who withstood an ugly and well-funded campaign of intimidation, a deeply dishonest and unrelenting campaign to guilt us into backing constitutional change that was racist and offensive in principle and would have been costly with far-reaching consequences if it were ever put into practice. And as we all know, anyone who read the Uluru Statement, anyone who has listened to the authors of the statement make extensive comments over the years about how the voice would empower them to negotiate a treaty from a position of strength. Even the Prime Minister had pledged to deliver the full Uluru Statement, voice, truth-telling and treaty. A treaty with our own people.
Welcome.
A treaty is something that two nations make with each other. That's partly why the left has stolen that fallacious political term from Canada, First Nations. We've never used that term for the Indigenous community until like 5 minutes ago. The Australian people overwhelmingly rejected the divisive racial politics of the left. They rejected the plan to give the activist class even more power and funding.
The gay marriage campaign.
They rejected the notion of listening to the same powerful voices that have delivered such appalling outcomes for their community.
Well, it's nice to be able to
Now
recycle.
it's time to deliver some accountability. Before the Prime Minister hoisted this divisive debate on the nation, many were unaware of what was happening in this sector, the land claims, the Aboriginal heritage laws, the billions spent on closing the gap and failing. What we need now is some measure of accountability, and that's precisely what Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price is pushing for. This lie that the Indigenous people do not have a voice or an advisory body, well, it's just pure nonsense. We have dozens of such advisory bodies already at both state and federal level, giving advice on policy development, including the Coalition of Peaks, which represents more than 80 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community-controlled peak and member organisations. We've got the National Indigenous Australian Agency alone, that's got 1,300 employees and a multi-million-dollar budget. And let's take a quick look. This is interesting. Look at the 5 seats with the biggest Indigenous population and how they voted. Now, Lingiari in the Northern Territory, 58% no. They have an Indigenous MP representing them, but they voted no. Durack in WA is 73% no. Leichhardt in Queensland, 67%. Parkes in New South Wales, 79%. And Kennedy in Queensland, 81% no. You may have the affluent Teal seats where people are about as far removed from these issues as humanly possible voting yes in small majorities. But in the seats where Indigenous people actually live, the results are a resounding no. That should tell you something. Now to what you've been waiting for, the yes camp and the mass meltdown we are seeing from our privileged lefties, from Australian cricketers needing counselling. I don't know, maybe they should go back to taking a knee. That seemed to bring the nation together. And the meltdown is also impacting celebrities, media and political pundits who are emoting wildly all over the internet today. Let's hear from the contributing editor of The Monthly, Rachel Withers, who has this sober analysis. Based on what we are seeing, no will be a victory for racism and conspiracy theories, for neo-Nazis and eugenics. Oh, my God. Confirming for Peter Dutton that misinformation works. The ABC's Jonathan Green posted this considered remark. F Australia? I mean, seriously? What the F? How can you say no? Writer and TV producer Cara Schlegg offered this charming take. F today, F this country, saying no to First Nations recognition on the same day we enabled the ethnic cleansing of an entire people. What? I have never felt more ashamed to be Australian. Oh, of course you are, love. I do wonder what the Venn diagram of those who are anti-Israel and pro-voice looks like. I don't know, maybe Kamala can help us figure that one out.
I think we know.
Now, alleged comic Magda Zubanski offered this to all our beautiful First Nations people. My heart goes out to you tonight. I wish this had been different. Please know that there are millions of us who love and treasure and support you, that we hear your voice and we will continue to walk with you. Broken heart emoji. Thank you emoji. More emojis. That sounds a lot like Magda telling Indigenous folk that only those who voted yes support them. How very unifying. And let's end with the ABCs and the Australians, Philip Adams, who can always be relied upon to be the adult in the room. He wrote, LNP announces a piano with only white keys.
Very clever.
Okay, maybe not. Those who want to use this result to paint Australia as racist and unsympathetic to the Indigenous community should be ignored. They are not serious people. They do not act in good faith. They're the same destructive activist class who relentlessly push far-left agendas no matter what. Ignore them and be proud of a country that voted for equality.
The political fallout from the failed referendum hit the chambers of federal parliament today as a bit of slanging match between Labor and the coalition attempted to shift blame onto the other. Both sides
we're
can
at a
agree
point
on
now
one thing:
where
the nation needs to heal.
Both of the political parties are blaming one another. Really, I don't see how the Prime Minister can blame the opposition for this, because it was really all of his idea. So he's basically saying that the opposition spread misinformation about the voice, and that it was there was nothing wrong with it. There was nothing complicated about it. There was no hidden agenda. Really, the opposition spread a bunch of lies. So, I mean, that's kind of normal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, that's kind of what happens. Yeah, so really, I mean, this whole thing's been kind of interesting. I've been looking a bit on Twitter, and I can tell you that there's been a lot of fun stuff posted. Brian here said, "What is this voice that was proposed in Australia?" And Cameron here said, "As an Australian, I can confidently tell you no one knows. Just some arbitrary words they wanted to add to our most important legal document without any justification, and promoted by the least tolerant people in our community." And that's really, really what it came down to. And they need to try again with a better defined proposal, and they need to leave out the race component and make welfare and assistance about need, and to show a clear path to the policies expected outcome. Australia don't care for race-based laws. We really don't. And yeah, in shocking news, the opposition disagrees. So, Dali, can you one up that?
Yeah. Well,
I showed you mine.
Well, I got a video of a woman reacting to Donald Trump getting elected.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
When people lose.
This is no, right as he was being inaugurated.
Well, if I remember correctly, like they didn't think that he was that was going to be the outcome to that election.
And then when he did win, they tried to manipulate the Electoral College and get it, because you have to use the Electoral College to vote. And then each state has a certain number of people that go and choose the president. And that's decided on which state wins. So they were trying to convince these electors to vote for somebody else.
Okay.
It didn't work, but they were trying to manipulate the election.
Right.
So much for democracy.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States. President
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere.
Is she giving birth?
Yeah. President of the United States of America, Donald. With a gracious aid.
I am so sorry to my world. I am so sorry to my world. This is not what we want.
We will face challenges.
There's so much potential
but we will get the job done.
For beauty and for devastation.
Years we gather
in this one moment, it's almost incomprehensible that they can exist right now. So,
and we are grateful
so
to President Obama.
What's wrong with her?
I know.
We did have a lot of fun fighting Hillary, didn't we?
Sorry.
The president.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the mindset of a lot of these people here and in Australia, apparently.
Well, I mean, I don't think I saw anyone doing that. But I mean, I haven't looked that far. I mean, it's possible. It's possible, but
yeah.
Like, was that? Oh my God, she's so sad. America wasn't destroyed. Well,
I know.
she probably does think it was destroyed.
Probably, yeah.
Like, she probably still thinks it was destroyed. So,
Oh, yeah.
hang on a moment. Like, when was that?
January 20th, 2017.
2017. So this is when he was first elected.
First elected, yeah.
Okay, so it was a shock.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Well, it was a shock. Nobody thought he was going to win.
Okay, no one thought he was going to win.
Yeah. So I found kind of a funny meme. Let me pull it up. Well, I did as well, but I was kind of going off. Well, I thought it was he had much better odds than they were giving him. Oh, sorry.
What, you mean the media was giving him?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
Everyone in the country, like the polls and everything.
Week he confirmed to the National Review that he is again considering a run in 2016.
Do it. Do it. Look at me. Do it.
Can you turn it up a bit?
Yeah.
Your campaign check now on behalf of this country, which does not want you to be president, but which badly wants you to run.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
Is that people think that Donald Trump is a clown.
Donald Trump is a clown. I mean, does anybody seriously think that Donald Trump is serious about running for president?
Donald Trump, he's a clown.
The likely moderator apparently believes that Donald Trump is a clown.
Which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones right now, Donald Trump.
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump.
Wow.
At least I will go down as a president.
So basically, this is the beginning of the end for Trump.
The beginning of the end.
Beginning of the end?
This is probably starting of the beginning of the end for Donald Trump.
Donald, you're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency.
Honesty, I just want to say, you're not going to be president, all right? It's been fun. It's been great. I love you. But come on, buddy.
We have a major projection right now. Donald Trump will take Ohio. CNN projects Donald Trump will carry the state of Florida. Huge win for Donald Trump. Donald Trump, we project, will win in Kentucky, in Indiana, with its 11 electoral votes. West Virginia, Tennessee, Mississippi, South Carolina, Alabama, North Dakota, with its 3 electoral votes, and South Dakota, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, the state of Carolina, Georgia, Iowa, Utah, Wisconsin, Arizona, Kansas, with its 6 electoral votes.
Wow, all those people who said let's stop must have just been like,
sorry to keep you waiting, complicated business.
You're awake, by the way. You're not having a terrible, terrible dream. Also, you're not dead and you haven't gone to hell. This is your life now. This is our election now. This is us. This is our country. It's real.
Who's she?
No, I'm Rachel Murdoch. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It's Rachel Murdoch.
She's, yeah.
Very dramatic.
Very. It's like, come on now. Get over it.
Yeah.
Ah, dear. Look, I don't know. Yeah. Jean, you thought you were winning? Sorry, not winning, dreaming at the time. Like, I don't know. Like, when we heard about it over here, are you showing anything else, by the way?
No.
No, okay. When we heard about it over here, it did sound like a bit crazy, like as in, okay, so they're electing another celebrity, kind of like, Ronald Reagan, you know.
Sure. And
It's
he
like,
was
or
very
Arnold
similar to
Schwarzenegger.
Reagan.
Yeah. It's like, well, okay. I suppose so. Like, you guys are just like because you guys like listen to celebrities and stuff talk about political things like they have
I like
important stuff
outsiders.
to say.
I normally don't. I just like outsiders that tell you how it is.
Yeah, and honestly, one day I will tell you guys about Pauline Hanson because she's an outsider, and she's a lady who she runs a fish and chip shop in Ipswich, which is just like she's basically an everyday chick, and she turned into like this political force, and also one of the most divisive figures in our country's political landscape. Very, very, very polarizing person, and a redhead, a ranger. So I'll tell you guys about her one day. Hey, David, we're just about to finish up, unfortunately. And Mo, how's it going? Oh, we don't want to what? No. Oh yes, Pauline. Pauline's definitely on the list to be a topic. So actually, oh hey Lynn, that's nice of you. Hey. Yeah, so we definitely want suggestions for topics for this show.
Yes.
So Aussies, I know there aren't many Aussies here, there's a couple. Tell your Aussie friends about this one, and also send through any suggestions for things that I can show Dali, right? And show the chat, show off basically about Australia, stuff that's happened here, crazy stuff, crazy people, crazy events, things that have happened in Australia that you'd like showcased to the US, and definitely put forth ideas for Dali to show off to me. So I'll show you mine if you show me yours, and I don't know which way to point. Yep. And we do sort of half and half. Today was a little bit more me because of the fact that it was a bit of a full-on topic, and something that I was a little bit scared to touch, but people kept asking me about it, and that was the yes/no vote in Australia. And I think there's definitely lots more to it if you're interested. I can post some links in Discord. What's this, David? I want to see how they make the women. Where are the women made? Dali, that's your question.
Where are the white women at? Is that what you're asking?
No, where are babies made, basically?
Oh, I don't know where babies are made.
No.
They won't tell me.
Listen to the adult pretenders, actors, lol. Will we like them to kindly hush up? Yeah. Actually, also, I don't know how long you've been watching, Mo, but we had Rita on. Rita was here. I know you like Rita and the Sky News crew. They were all here. So you need to go back and watch the replay. All the big, ginormous creepy crawlies in the show. I will do one on some creepy crawlies, and even some cute creepy crawlies as well. So definitely send through ideas. And hang on. As per usual, I need to do a little gift of. Where are we? Yeah, if you are not a member of the Making Law Simple Network, if you're not part of the Making Law Simple Network, then you are missing out on lots of member content. And thank you to David, who is here, the Lord of the Treehouse. I just hopped over here from Nicholas. See, I didn't know that Nicholas was streaming. Yeah. And make sure that you get over there. I'll pop the link in. Pop the link in. Where are we? I need to put it at the top of my links. Jean. There you go. Thank you, Jean. Yes.
So yeah, we will.
You are so great. Become a member. Oh, I'm not finished.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if you had to get going.
No, it's fine. Okay. I am going to take her to school late because it's very important. This grift is important.
Yes.
Become a member of Making Law Simple Network channel by clicking there, and you get access to live alerts to Dali, to myself, to Mo, to Farrell, to Lefty, to Baker, to everybody, all the cool people, and more other people as well who pop in from time to time. And you also get to see all the fun stuff like the leaderboards to my Chazzle Dazzle Day, and we're going to start a new one tomorrow, Joel Guy Jr. That's tomorrow.
Yep.
All the other fun stuff. Nick's talking about some tragic news. Yeah, I did see something about that when I looked over after we started our live. Yeah, make sure you're over there. Hey, over here. Yes, I know. Hi, David. What's this? I propose you expose the fact that even the bloody flora are trying to kill Aussies. The gimpy suicide tree. That sounds great.
Oh.
You need to get into my DMs. Tragic.
Yes.
You sound like you're full of excellent information. Love to MLS and family. Yes, I promised. Cool. So make sure you do that. Make sure you subscribe to both Dali and I, and you turn the notification bell on solid.
Please.
And join the MLS and family. What do you have to say, Dali?
No, please. Yeah, that's it.
I talk so much.
No, you're good.
Cool.
You said everything I needed to.
Thank you everyone for turning up. That's
nice seeing you guys.
Have a great rest of the day.
Bye.